Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast.
Today we are discussing Chapter 237, Up on the Sky.
Up on the sky is an understatement. They made it. They are on a literal sea of clouds. But just when you think they can finally catch their breath, they get hit by a masked man who takes out Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji like it's nothing, before a knight riding a giant bird shows up out of nowhere.
It seems reaching the destination was the easy part. The real danger has just begun.
Absolutely. If you want to ride this crazy stream with us all the way to the end of the Grand Line, make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to get left behind on the Blue Sea for an adventure like this. So Robin, let's start at the beginning. They've just been shot out of the knock-up stream.
And they immediately can't breathe. The air is thin. They're disoriented, floating in a place that shouldn't exist.
The first panels are chaos. The ship is falling, everyone is weightless for a moment, and their bodies are immediately telling them that this is a fundamentally wrong place to be.
That's the part that gets me. It's not just a visual shock, it's a physical one. They are in an alien environment. Oda draws it so well. You can feel the panic in their choked gasps. You can tell the air pressure is just a fraction of what it is at sea level. As a shipwright, I'm thinking about the Mary. What does that kind of pressure shift do to the wood, to the rigging? It's a miracle she's not groaning and creaking apart.
The ship is a living member of the crew, and it seems to be just as stunned as they are. Even simple things are different here, which is a masterful piece of environmental storytelling.
It's brilliant. It shows us, without a single word of exposition, that the rules have changed. Less oxygen means everything is different. Their bodies, their tools, even fire itself doesn't work the way it's supposed to.
It's a completely new ecosystem with its own rules of physics. They're essentially deep-sea divers who just surfaced too quickly, suffering from a kind of reverse bends. Their lungs are screaming for air that isn't dense enough. It's a terrifyingly realistic problem to encounter in a completely fantastical setting.
Exactly. And while they're all gasping and trying to figure out how to even exist in this new reality, we get this quick cutaway, back down on the Blue Sea, to Blackbeard.
I found that cut jarring in a very deliberate way. We're with the Straw Hats in this beautiful, impossible, ethereal world, and then suddenly we're slammed back down to the grimy, violent reality they just escaped. It's a reminder that the threats of the Blue Sea haven't vanished just because the Straw Hats have.
And Blackbeard is just calm. It's infuriating. Burgess is losing his mind, screaming that they have to chase Luffy, that they have to get him now. He's all instinct and rage, exactly what you'd expect from a pirate who wants that huge bounty. But Teach just leans back, grinning that infuriating grin, and says, no.
He says, so long as they're on this sea, we'll meet again. That's not a guess, that's a promise. It's a statement of profound faith in the concept of fate, or perhaps in his own ability to manipulate it. He isn't worried about the how or the when. He simply knows it will happen.
It's so much scarier than if they had just given chase. A chase is a conflict you can see. This is something else. It's this certainty that their paths are intertwined, that fate, or whatever you want to call it, will bring them back together. He's playing the long game. It reminds me of what Crocodile was trying to do in Alabasta, but Teach's plan feels bigger. It's not about one country. It's about the entire era.
That's an excellent point. Crocodile was a schemer, a chess player moving his pieces meticulously. Blackbeard feels different. He sees the Grand Line as a board, yes, but he believes the pieces will move themselves into the positions he desires. He doesn't need to rush. He's a student of history, of patterns. It makes him feel less like a pirate and more like a force of nature, patiently waiting for the tide to turn in his favor.
A patient one, and that's terrifying. He's not just aiming for the title Pirate King, he seems to be aiming for the position of protagonist in the story of the world. But back in the sky, the crew finally starts to acclimate. Their bodies adjust, and they're looking around at this endless ocean of clouds, and it's just pure wonder. The art is gorgeous here. You get this huge double-page spread of the Going Merry floating on a sea of white, with the blue sky both above and below them. It's breathtaking.
Until Chopper realizes Usopp isn't breathing. The shift in tone is instantaneous. We go from awe-inspiring beauty to mortal peril in a single panel.
Little man Chopper, our doctor, just springs right into action. No hesitation. He is all business. He starts performing CPR, and for a second, it is genuinely tense. This isn't a gag. You can tell Usopp is in real trouble. You're thinking, did he really survive the knock-up stream, this insane, world-breaking phenomenon, just to suffocate in the sky a minute later?
It speaks to how extreme the environmental shift was. Usopp is probably one of the less physically resilient members of the crew, so it makes sense that he would be the most affected. But of course, Chopper, in his first real test as the crew's doctor in a crisis that isn't battle-related, saves him. It's a wonderful character moment for him.
He saves him, and what is the first thing Usopp does after being brought back from the brink of death after staring into the void?
He decides to go for a swim. In a sea made of a substance no human has ever swum in before.
He decides to go for a swim. In the Cloud Sea. It's absolute madness. Sanji is yelling at him, "We don't know what's in there, you idiot," which is the most rational response anyone could have. And Usopp just ignores him, puts on his goggles with this look of manic glee, and dives right in. That is the most Usopp thing he could have possibly done.
It's a perfect encapsulation of his character. He's a character who is defined by his fear, but his curiosity and his impulsive desire to be part of the adventure are just as strong, if not stronger. He has to know. He has to see it for himself, even if it might kill him. It's the same impulse that made him stand up to Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas in Alabasta. Underneath the terror, there's a desperate bravery.
He's the perfect scout for the audience in that way. He's doing the dumb thing we all secretly want to do. And he's describing it as he goes, how there's no resistance, how blurry it is. It's not water, it's something else entirely. He's yelling back that it's just like a regular ocean, but you can tell something's off.
And then he vanishes. He's not swimming away. He just keeps going deeper and doesn't come back up.
The comedic tone evaporates. The mood on the Merry shifts instantly. 1 second they're laughing at their idiot friend, the next it's sheer panic. The crew is worried, calling out his name, and then you drop the most chilling line.
Is there even a seafloor here?
Goosebumps. Every time. Because of course there isn't. It's a cloud. He just fell. He fell through the ocean. The concept is so terrifying. It's not just drowning, it's falling from a colossal height into nothingness.
They realize he's now falling thousands of meters back down to the blue sea. He has seconds before he becomes a red smear on the surface of the Grand Line. The physics of it are horrifying.
And Luffy doesn't even think. He doesn't hesitate for a microsecond. Arm stretches, boom, right into the cloud after him. But he can't see anything. He's just blindly flailing his arm around in this massive sea of vapor, screaming Usopp's name, hoping to bump into his friend. It's a 1 in a million shot. It's pure, desperate hope.
But then I get to say my favorite line of the chapter. I'll handle it. Calm, confident, and with a plan already formed.
This is it. This is the moment. This is the first time we see a true devil fruit combination that isn't just about raw power. It's about synergy. It's the moment that solidifies your place on this crew as not just a historian, but a vital, problem-solving member of the team.
Luffy provides the reach, the raw physical ability that no one else possesses. And I provide the sight, the sensory information that he lacks in this environment. I sprout eyes all along his stretched arm, from his shoulder down to his wrist.
It's brilliant. It's so clever. It's not just Luffy stretches farther or Robin sprouts more hands. It's two completely different weird abilities layered on top of each other to do something neither of them could do alone. This is what makes the Straw Hat special. It shows you need more than just fighters and specialists. You also need the weirdos whose powers can combine in unexpected ways. They don't just fight together, they solve problems together in the most creative way possible.
Luffy becomes a periscope. His arm, which is usually a blunt instrument for punching, is transformed into a guided rescue tool. It demonstrates a level of trust between us that is still very new. He had to trust that I could do what I said I could, and I had to trust that he could react in time. And through my eyes, we see Usopp tumbling through the empty sky, a tiny speck against the vast blue, and Luffy's hand snatches him right out of the air.
And they pull him back up onto the ship, safe and sound. What a sequence. From comedy to terror to ingenuity to triumph in just a few pages. That right there is peak One Piece crew dynamics. Problem, weird solution, perfect teamwork. Super!
But Usopp didn't come back alone. His fall disturbed the residents of the Cloud Sea.
Oh no, he did not. He brings back some friends. A giant sky octopus and some kind of huge sea monster pop out of the clouds right after him and attack the Mary. The scale of these things is immense. The octopus's tentacle is as thick as the Mary's mast.
And just as quickly as they appear, they're dealt with. The crew's reaction isn't even panic anymore. It's annoyance.
It's perfect. Zoro just steps up, doesn't even say a full sentence. Just, shing! One of the octopus's tentacles is gone. Then Sanji flies in with a kick, knocking the sea monster silly. It's the perfect little reminder that for all the wonder and danger of this new world, the monster trio is still the monster trio. A giant octopus is just Tuesday for them. They're back in their element. Or so they think.
The real discovery wasn't the giant monsters, which are impressive but not entirely unexpected on the Grand Line. It was the small fish that got flung onto the deck during the chaos.
The skyfish. And this is where you really light up, Robin. Everyone else sees a weird flat fish. You see the key to a 400-year-old mystery. You see this flat, weird-looking fish, and you immediately know what it is.
It's from Mont Blanc Noland's journal, the book that got him branded as a liar for 400 years and led to his execution, a book that most of the world dismisses as a children's fairy tale.
This is a huge payoff. We heard about this way back in Jaya. Everyone in the world thinks Noland was a fraud who made up stories about a city of gold. Bellamy laughed in Luffy's face about it. But you, Robin, you always believed there was truth to it. You saw the possibility. And here's the proof. Tangible, physical evidence that his stories were real.
The book described the unique biology of life in the sky. It wasn't just a travelogue. It was a scientific text. Noland observed that because the buoyancy of the Cloud Sea is so much weaker than water, creatures had to evolve to be lighter to survive. Some became flat, like the skyfish, to maximize their surface area and float more easily. Others, we can assume, became like balloons.
It's incredible world building. Oda doesn't just say, here are some sky creatures. He gives us the scientific why. It makes the world feel so much more real and thought out. It's not just magic, it's fantasy physics. Nami points out its scales look like feathers, which makes perfect sense. Everything up here is adapting to be lighter, more aerodynamic.
And just as Nami is marveling at its unique carnivorous mouth, a fascinating specimen for study,
Franky snatches it, hands it to Sanji, and says, sauté.
The duality of this crew perfectly summarized. Half of them are pondering the historical and biological implications of a new species that rewrites history, and the other half is wondering what it tastes like with a little salt and pepper.
And it's delicious. Of course it is. You can't have Sanji cook something that isn't. Luffy takes a huge bite and his eyes pop. Even Nami, who was just moments ago furious that they were about to cook their one piece of scientific evidence, takes a bite and loves it. It's such a perfectly Straw Hat moment of chaos, discovery, and gluttony all rolled into one.
But while they're all distracted by the food, their guard completely down, Chopper sees something.
Yeah, the tone shifts again and fast. Oda is a master of this. Chopper's looking through his binoculars and he sees another ship in the distance, and someone is attacking it, destroying it. The panels are small, but they're violent. It's not a pirate battle, it's an execution.
He tries to warn everyone, but they're all focused on the new skyfish dish. Knowing what Chopper sees, the lighthearted scene becomes incredibly tense. It's dramatic irony. We, the readers, know the danger is approaching, but the characters are blissfully unaware.
And then, before Chopper can even get the words out, the attacker is there, on their ship. A man in a strange mask, just standing there. There's no sound effect for his arrival. He's just suddenly present. It's incredibly unsettling.
He ran across the clouds to reach them. That's the first sign that something is very, very wrong. This person understands this environment in a way the Straw Hats cannot comprehend. The rules don't apply to him. He treats the Cloud Sea like solid ground.
Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji immediately jump in front to protect the crew. The welcome party is here. They're done eating, they're done exploring, they're ready for a fight. They are the monster trio of the Straw Hat Pirates, and they're confident.
And they get completely, utterly, and humiliatingly overwhelmed.
It's not even a fight, it's a beatdown. This masked guy moves in a way they can't predict. He's impossibly fast and agile on the clouds, and he's using some kind of strange weapon. He just effortlessly knocks all three of them down.
Luffy gets hit and it's like a cannonball went off in his chest. Zoro is too slow. Sanji is too slow. They can't even touch him.
Nami is calling out, asking what's wrong with them, because she's never seen the three of them handled so easily by a single opponent. Not since my Hivok, perhaps. But even with my Hivok, Zoro landed a hit, albeit a futile one. Here, they can't even get close. They are utterly outclassed.
And that's the thing. It's not like he's a giant like Dory or Brogy or a Logia user like Crocodile. He just outmaneuvers them. It's like they're fighting on unsteady ground for the first time and he's completely at home. They are completely out of their element. He uses their own momentum against them. It's a masterclass in environmental combat. Usopp is just on the ground muttering, "Sky Island is scary, and right now, I'm with him. This is terrifying."
The attacker then pulls out a cannon, what looks like a bazooka, about to finish them off while they're down. It feels hopeless. The chapter has built them up, shown their teamwork, their strength against monsters, only to dash it all against this one person. They survived the knock-up stream, they survived falling through the sky, only to be eliminated by the very first person they meet.
But then, a spear. A lance comes flying out of nowhere and bam, it hits the attacker, sending him flying off into the cloud sea. The save comes from off-screen. It's a total surprise.
A savior. Nami is crying out, "Who is it now?" They can't catch a break. They've gone from one unknown entity to another in the space of a minute. Is this new person a friend or just a different kind of foe?
And the camera pans over and we see him. An old man in full plate armor with a massive lance riding a giant, majestic bird. The design is straight out of a classic fantasy novel.
It's a very striking image. A man on what looks like a Pegasus, arriving just in the nick of time.
It's one of the most epic entrances we've seen in a long time. This old man lands on the railing of the Mary, his bird companion beside him, and he introduces himself with all the gravitas in the world. "I am the Knight of the Sky." Super! What a cliffhanger! What a way to start an arc! We have gone from wonder to comedy to mortal danger to teamwork to utter defeat to pure epic fantasy in a single chapter. This is everything I love about One Piece. It's an emotional and tonal roller coaster.
It establishes the stakes immediately. This world is beautiful, but it is not friendly. It has its own laws, its own predators, and its own conflicts, and you will need help to survive it. The Straw Hats, for all their power, are interlopers who know nothing.
Help has arrived, and he's a knight on a Pegasus bird thing. I am so ready for the next chapter. This feels like the start of a true capital A adventure.
Before we get to that, there's Oda's author comment for the week.
Oh yeah, let's hear it. These are always a good peek inside his head.
He writes, "The World Cup. I saw some booing from the crowd during a Korean home game. I thought that was awesome. That's exactly what fans should be doing."
That's such an Oda take. He loves raw, passionate emotion. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. He loves that the fans are so invested that they'll boo if they feel it's warranted. It's real. Whether it's cheering or booing, as long as it's real. He appreciates a crowd that's invested. I get it. It's about being part of the game, not just a quiet spectator. You're in it with them.
It's a very fitting comment for a chapter that throws the audience and the characters into a completely new and hostile game where they don't even know the rules yet. The masked man was essentially booing them off his home court.
All right, prediction time. We have so many questions about the Sky Knight and the masked attacker. I can't wait to see what you think of these. Robin, you go first.
My first prediction is that the masked man is part of a larger organized force. He wasn't just a random bandit. His equipment and fighting style, it all felt uniform, efficient. He behaved like a soldier enforcing a border. He's the law up here, or at least one version of it, and the Straw Hats are illegal immigrants.
Ooh, I like that. So they didn't just meet a pirate, they trespassed into a nation's territory and got attacked by their military or border patrol. That makes sense. My first one is that the Knight of the Sky is going to explain why the monster trio was so useless. I think there's a trick to fighting up here, maybe related to the thin air or the weird properties of the clouds. Or maybe it's that strange weapon he was using. I bet that's the key. I'm guessing it's some kind of local technology. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji just didn't know the rules of the game. The Knight will be their guide.
That connects to my second thought. Nami's log post is still pointing up. The sea of clouds they're on, this isn't the final destination. This is the entrance. The true Skypiea, the island the log post is tracking, is even further above them on an even higher sea of clouds. This area is just the dangerous frontier you have to cross to get there.
Bro, that's a great point. They're in the equivalent of the harbor. They haven't even reached the city yet, and the harbor patrol just tried to sink them. Okay, my final prediction. The Knight of the Sky is an outcast. His title sounds official, but he's acting alone. I think he used to be part of whatever kingdom is up here, maybe even their leader, but was exiled or left because he disagreed with their hostile methods, which is why he's now helping outsiders like the Straw Hats. He's a rogue knight.
An interesting idea. A fallen knight. That would explain why he's fighting against the masked man. It implies a civil conflict that the Straw Hats have just fallen into. My last prediction is that we will learn more about the different types of clouds. Just as the Grand Line has different types of islands with unique climates, I think the sky will have different types of seas. The cumulonimbus clouds they are on now are dense enough to hold things, but there will be other types. Some you can sail on, some you can walk on. Travel between them might require special knowledge or equipment, which is why that first attacker moved with such impossible agility. He was equipped for this specific terrain.
A whole new kind of geography to learn. This arc is already shaping up to be an adventure on a whole other level. New physics, new biology, new technology, and two warring factions. I can't wait to see what happens next. This is going to be super.